Like to welcome you all to the 2021 online training meeting number one. I'm sitting here with Terry Williams and myself, Bruce Maurer, and we will go through this. This is the first, obviously, of two meetings we'll do. The second one to follow sometime later during the football season. Uh, Initially, as most of you saw in the bulletin, it came out last week. The first COVID modification we have for the current football season, and teams can now extend their team box from the 25-yard lines down to the 10-yard lines, and similar or identical to last year. This is for players only, not trainers, coaches, etc. The second thing I just want to reiterate, and now that we're in there week 4 of the season, is from the standpoint of crews, again, this year we have waived the must be at the site 1 hour and 30 minutes before the game. You can do your pregame, parking lot, restaurant, somebody's home, etc. The only thing we are requesting that what's stated in the goal book, that you arrive on the football field 40 minutes before the game, ready to meet at the 35-minute mark with the first coach that you meet on the football field.
That would include arriving dressed or changing in a locker room or at a facility at the school. It's the crew's option. Is that correct, Bruce?
Exactly, yeah. Basically, it's quote unquote open season this year in terms of what you do, where you do. Obviously, you do want to communicate with the athletic director or a member of game management prior to the arriving on site as to when you will arrive on site. So if it's not the traditional, hour and a half before the game, that the AD or the appropriate person knows approximately what your arrival time will be and then what your dressing arrangements are.
Couple of questions on masks. If the school responds to you and says, we have a school policy that you need to wear a mask anytime you're indoors, we need to follow those guidelines. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. No requirement on the field to have them on when you're meeting with a coach or participating in your officiating of the game. Is that right?
Yes, although I was out observing some sub-varsity games on Saturday, and there were several officials there that were wearing masks, and obviously it's your choice, and if you choose to wear a mask, before, during the game, obviously, that's important to you, and therefore, do what you need to do in these very challenging times.
Sounds like a good idea.
Good. As you can see from this photo taken a few years ago, obviously the officials in Ohio would do a better job than what you see here. And I'd just like to take this time to, along with Bo, the coaches, the fans, and the players, to thank each and every one of you for your professionalism, your dedication in these very challenging times, both last year and this year. We really appreciate the work that you do. And obviously, we could not have an OHSAA football season without you. So again, thank you very much for the time and the effort you take and you put into, being some of the best officials, obviously, in the entire United States of America. Let's take a look at this first video specifically about flag mechanics. And let's take a look first at the official at the bottom of the screen on this false start that he correctly calls. As you can see, this is not what we want. I think one of the most important things is to first and foremost is slow down. As we've talked about in previous bulletins, we want to do what? Whistle, flag, stop the game clock 2 times, and then give a preliminary signal to the official, in other words, the referee. Obviously here, as he calls the false start, flag is thrown out. Obviously, we need to throw it high in the air so people can see it. And from talking with clock operators, they get conflicted because in this situation here, they don't know whether to stop the clock or not. And so now, instead, let's look at the official at the top of the screen, the head linesman. He does an excellent job as we watch him throw this same flag here. Whistle, flag high in the air, stop the game clock twice, take a couple steps to get visual contact with the referee, and then signal false start. Excellent job done by the H. So let's watch this one more time. Obviously, whistle, flag high in the air, stop the game clock 2 times, and then an excellent preliminary signal to the referee. Again, when I've seen this, and I watched 5 crews over the past week, and unfortunately, at least one of the wings, again, were in too big a hurry. Obviously, in this situation, we're going to stop the game clock, so please, just slow down, go through this cadence that we've talked about, and it'll help everybody to become a better official and give us better game management. So now let's move on to the next clip, and Terry will talk about this very fascinating and interesting play that happened.
Okay, just to kind of set up our scenario here, this is 8 seconds to go in the half. And prior to this snap, which happens just as the video starts, there were 8 seconds on the game clock. There had been a timeout called by the offense. They were up by 14 points. The coach was trying to get another score before halftime, and the officials had come together. They realized there was one timeout left for the offense, but they run this play, and I want to kind of draw your attention to our clock down here by the slide bar, and I will stop it when we have a runner down. Four seconds had run off. Even if there was a little head start because of the snap and so forth, we certainly didn't use up all 8 seconds. I also want to draw your attention to this fella in the black beanie. We'll kind of go back here. And as the runner starts to go down, you can see this fella running down the field. That's the head coach of the offense. And he's screaming, timeout, 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 because he knows he's going to be short. The travesty is the officials did not look at the game clock. At the whistle, there were still 2 seconds left in this half on the game clock, but no one looked. And what we ended up with was the half expiring. The really huge tragedy is the offensive team lost by 7 points. The other team came back in the second half and outscored them, and they lost the game. Would they have scored the touchdown after the timeout on the next play? We don't know. There's also, and for those of you watching, yeah, we probably had assisting a runner there as well. But even with that, we're looking at a 5-yard penalty. We're going to have one more opportunity from the 6 probably. They still get another chance to try and score this touchdown. There's a whole lot of things going on here. If we watch the quarterback, he's turning to the referee, and he's signaling timeout. The head coach is running down the sideline signaling or yelling timeout, timeout, timeout. We had time left on the game clock, and none of the 5 officials bothered to look at the game clock to see that we had time remaining.
I think, Terry, on a situation like this, and especially from the standpoint of the white hat, since he does not have goal line responsibility, etc., knowing the status of the clock, 8 seconds on it, knowing that the home team, the team in black, the offense has a timeout left, that official needs to immediately turn to that sideline and look to see whether or not that coach is asking for a timeout, because obviously we know from our vast experience of watching as well as playing the game, chances are the head coach here is going to want a timeout.
Absolutely.
And so again, from the standpoint of the R, immediately look to the sideline as well. The other thing I know in pregame, we always tell the coaches that when we meet with them that when you're in the red zone, feel free as he does to run down the sideline, asking for that timeout. Obviously, we know with the COVID situation, he or she's got to stay at the 25-yard line. in his team box. However, if there's a situation here involving time and score, obviously he or she can run down that sideline requesting that timeout.
Yeah, I do want to kind of shed a little bit of compassion, for the lack of a better term, on our line judge who is listening to the coach. He's got a goal line situation here.
Yes.
He's focused on did the ball cross the goal line. He has a lot going on.
Yep.
Referee, back judge, somebody has got to kind of pick up our slack here because that line judge has his hands full.
Yes, I agree.
So, yeah, again, somebody has to watch this clock. Somebody's got to keep in mind that the clock's important here. And as it turned out, yeah, it didn't turn out well.
Let's take a look at this play. We've got a pass, obviously, from the quarterback to receiver in the end zone. So let's go ahead and take a look at it, Terry. Obviously, that defensive player is delivering a blow up high. So this is clearly a foul for targeting. Contact occurs, above the shoulders. Is this disqualification? That's the reason why we put this video clip in. And the emphasis we want to make here, as we've talked about before, is before we attempt to disqualify a player, we need to have at minimal 2 officials come together and talk about whether or not it's disqualification. If the crew gets together, so much the better. Obviously, we can see from this clip, as Terry has froze it, that we have at least 2 officials, the L and the back judge, that have an excellent look at this and can come together and talk about it. Remember, regarding disqualification, it's got to be a flagrant act. And most importantly is what is the player committing the act doing? Is he trying to make a football-related play, or is he trying to do harm from a standpoint of, launching himself in a missile, use of the head, etc.? We definitely would support disqualification here because of the action of the targeting and how this blow is delivered. But again, crew, if you're going to disqualify somebody, please get together, talk about it, and have good reasons why you need to disqualify this player.
Okay, just a follow-up to our new blocking low rule here. Another very good example. Watch our left tackle right here, and let's see the low block he commits on the defensive player. One more time. Okay, so the question is that a foul based on the new rule? And the new rule specifies that as long as the immediate initial action of anyone in the free blocking zone within a yard of the line of scrimmage is down, then that would be a legal block. But if we go back and look at it for a third time, it certainly is evident that the left tackle takes 1, maybe 2 steps and then goes low. So his immediate initial act is not low. Therefore, this would qualify as an illegal low block.
Good, Terry. Who can see this? Where are our eyes? And who's got a shot at this? Obviously, on this clip, the umpire does a great job of picking up this foul.
Sure. 5-man crew, so there's no CJ. Had there been a CJ, I think the CJ's in a perfect position. I think our wings got a shot here. And depending on bodies, I think the back judge may be able to see this play.
Let's take a look at this play. Let's look at the bottom of the screen here, specifically at the defensive player. And again, obviously we can see a illegal low block committed by the defensive player. Just want to reemphasize that for 3 years in a row now, in the OHSAA points of emphasis, these illegal low blocks by the defensive team has been number one in the minds of the coaches on types of fouls and types of plays that we can do a better job of. So again, as we can see on this particular play, a lot of times it's a pulling lineman. As we see here, the looks like the left guard is pulling, and the defensive back, linebacker, whatever, wants to obviously take him out and commits a low block there, illegal low block. R does a great job of looking at the POA on this play to make this call. To be honest with you, if I was observing the game, I would be asking the wing at the bottom of the screen, what did you see? Because, you know, in our opinion, you know, there should be a second foul on this play, especially since it's wide open like it is. And to be honest with you, it's a POA, and, you know, we would also ask the back judge, what did you see? Sometimes, you know, the U has a very challenging time on a call like this because of the bodies between him and where the foul occurs. But again, R, wing, back judge, all have an excellent shot at this. And again, I think sometimes, you know, we talk about this in meetings, why do we miss some of these? And, you know, we're all human. We know we're going to miss some of these. But I think the tendency is for all of us, we tend to watch the offense. At the meetings I've been to presenting, that's been the common opinion because, you know, the offense can hold, they can blindside block, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I think we have to widen our field of vision and be aware anytime we have these offenses with pulling linemen that, you know, there is an opportunity for the defense to cut, and therefore, you know, let's pick these up and, you know, do a better job of, you know, getting these calls, you know, as the season progresses.
And I think, Bruce, that anytime you see that pulling lineman, I think our antennas need to go up. Hey, let's look at the defense. Are they cutting? Where's that lineman going? Similar to what we do on a screen pass, where the lineman hit and then release. Our antennas go up. We start looking for linemen downfield. So yeah, I mean that's a new technique. Lineman starts pulling. Let's look at that POA, because if the defense goes low, we most likely will have a foul.
Good.
Okay, on this play, we're also looking at a low block, but in this situation, we're looking at the offense doing it. If we pay attention to the running back here next to the quarterback, we have a blitzing player, and let's see how he handles blocking that player. So we know that at least one of these particular players was not in the free blocking zone on the line of scrimmage at the time the ball was snapped, which eliminates their ability to block below the waist. And that's exactly what we have. The running back blocks the charging defensive lineman below the waist. Clearly a foul, and it's one that's very visible to a lot of officials out there in the field. We notice the umpire's on this side of the formation, which means he's probably not going to see it, but the wing at the top of the screen, the referee, and the CJ, if there's one there, all get this one pretty well. This is one maybe the back judge doesn't see because of the bodies in the way, but three officials, really pretty easy to pick this one up.
And we know, as we put into the goal book 3 or 4 years ago, and let's go back to the beginning of this play, please, and freeze it there, is we always talk about our pre-snap responsibilities, and one of those pre-snap responsibilities is to know in your general area who can block low and who cannot. So obviously here the the referee, if there's a CJ, they're both going to know that this back, obviously, since he's not within a yard line of scrimmage, cannot block low. But what's really important is for these situations, especially if you have wing backs, let's say this wing back we have right here, on the right side of the line, same thing, that player cannot block low. So what's really important from a standpoint of pre-snap responsibilities is to identify each down who can block low and who cannot. I know I've been caught before wishing I'd done a better job of my pre-snap responsibilities, because all of a sudden there's two players, offense and defense, lying on the ground. I don't know how they got there, and obviously we're frustrated and feel bad about that happening. So again, think pre-snap, who can block low, who can't, then if and when this type of action occurs, we'll know how to handle it.
Agreed.
Okay, let's take a look at this unusual play, to say the least. Obviously, we have a pass thrown. Whoops, what in the world did the quarterback just do there? Let's take another look at that, Terry. Obviously, we have a pass thrown that should have been ruled incomplete, was not. Play continues. And then obviously we can see there that number 2 for the offense has a blindside block. From here, obviously the person he's blocking is looking to make the tackle. It's not against the runner. It's outside the free blocking zone, etc. Obviously, it's forceful. Now, the other thing I'd like to point out here, stop it there, please, Terry, is this player here goes in motion. And as this player goes in motion, let's take a look at what the quarterback does. He takes step forward, stop it there. So obviously here we would also have an illegal shift.
2 people moving. Right.
2 people moving at the same time, obviously, and you know the definition of a high school shift. If one person moves, that person, unless he's legally in motion, has to reset. So a couple things here. One, we have an illegal shift. Secondly, we have a forward pass that should have been ruled incomplete. Thirdly, then we obviously have a foul by the quarterback on a blindside block. And Terry, let's talk about, if you could please, the read and reacts with our wings, both the H and the L, and what you see on this video clip that we need to do a better job of.
Okay, and let's start out with the down and distance. We've got a 2nd down and 11 here. So our line to gain, we aren't in that mechanic where we're going to TFM, where we're going to go to the line to gain and stop. If we look at our head linesman, as soon as the ball is snapped, he moves downfield. He moves with his receivers. Now we know that this backside wing, who has the best look on whether this pass is forward or backward, has taken himself completely out of the play.
And also, Terry, as you can see there running back again, he's also turning his shoulders. So now he's lost a percentage of the field that he can see. See right there as he turns his shoulders.
Absolutely. So we have virtually no look at whether this pass is forward or backwards. The line judge, who you can't see at the bottom of the screen, also moves slightly downfield, takes himself a little bit out of the play, but he was probably in a much better place to determine forward or backward, but he's got the ball coming at him, the man in motion coming at him. He has a lot on his mind, and that's why we constantly say, who has the best look? It's the backside wing. Our backside wing taking himself completely out of the play. So that's why I believe we missed this forward pass being incomplete versus trying to make it a backward pass and a loose ball.
Let's run it back to the beginning, Terry, because the key thing is we talk about, if you could please stop it there, that is horizontal versus vertical. Anytime we have players, and this time obviously we have a player in motion, so this is horizontal. Obviously, if we have something where it's a streak up the field, obviously that would be vertical. So anytime we have a horizontal movement here, again, the wings need to pause and wait, because in a lot of cases, if we see this type of horizontal movement, and we know that, in high school as well as college and pro football, the average pass that's thrown is less than 8 yards. So that's the large preponderance of plays, and so therefore, just be tuned in to this horizontal movement, and therefore pause to see, read and react, how this play develops.
Absolutely. And once we get past this and they do not consider this incomplete and the runner reverses field, it's, again, antennas up.
Yep.
We know we have people going opposite directions, in this case horizontally.
Mm-hmm.
Prime opportunity for a blindside block.
Yes, clearly, because anytime you see a player going against the grain, that player immediately becomes suspect, and therefore, like you mentioned, our antenna need to go up, and we need to be cognizant of what that player might do, once he becomes suspect, again, by going against the grain. Okay, let's take a look at this play right here. This is obviously looks like a 6-person crew, and we have a pass thrown. Obviously, the question is whether the pass is forward or backward. Initially, stop there, Terry. Let's take a look because as we mentioned earlier, the backside wing in most cases has the best look at whether this pass is forward or backward. So let's take a look at the H at the top of the screen and see what that official does. Bang, stop there. Obviously, he has signaled that it's a backward pass. Clearly, it is a backward pass. Unfortunately, now let's run it back again. The official at the bottom of the screen, the line judge, for some reason, rules this as being a forward pass and signals incomplete. Now, as we know, we would hope in this situation, whoops, we didn't do what we wanted to do, which is rule this play correctly. So as a result, the crew needs to come together. And obviously, in this particular play, we have an IW, or an inadvertent whistle. And obviously, with the whistle sounding during a loose ball, the only option we have, of course, is to replay this down. So the ruling on this play would be backward pass, whistle blows incorrectly, and therefore we have an IW, or an inadvertent whistle. Now, I think the most important thing, and if you could run it back to the beginning, please, and just stop it there, is we want to be slow on this particular play. How many times do we talk repeatedly in football officiating to slow down? And this is probably one of the classic examples why we do not want to be in a hurry here. If the line judge, rather than blowing the whistle immediately for what he thought was an incomplete pass, would simply pause and let this play through. If the offense ends up with the football, great. If the defense ends up with the football, then afterwards, when I was in the NFL, the old timers there would talk about how we can go back and reconstruct the play. So in other words, let's say we have this particular type of play. We're not sure whether it's a forward pass or a backward pass. By not blowing the whistle, we allow the play to go to its fruition. In other words, when the ball becomes dead by rule, then as a crew, we can get together and talk about it. We can always go back. The R can look at the press box and simply signal incomplete pass, and we go on to the next down. However, as we know, on a play like this, as soon as we blow the whistle, we're stuck with it. Again, help us here. Slow down. Let's take our time. To be honest with you, before every pregame of every game with the coaches, I ask them if they run a double pass. And if they run a double pass, then what we respectfully ask them to do, let us know as this play is about ready to happen with the wing. The wing will keep it quiet, but it'll at least get us in position to be able to make this call. But again, slow down, and be patient.
Yeah, and just to kind of follow up, if we look at the CJ up here at the top of the screen, that official is also punching back. We can't see the R, but based on what we're seeing here, I'm guessing he's being patient, if not punching it back as well. So, I mean, these are very embarrassing situations, not to mention the fact that they're preventable.
Sure. Yeah. One more thing, let's run it back one more time, Terry, regarding the R. Let's run it to the point where he throws the ball. Start right there, stop. As we can see, the R can get involved in this play if it's a 5-person crew, obviously when it involves a solid line. Obviously, on this particular type of play, the quarterback is not being threatened from the standpoint of contact, and therefore the referee can see that the quarterback releases this ball beyond the solid line, and the ball then lands behind the solid line. So on this particular play here, this gives the R an excellent opportunity again to punch, and remember, yell back, in this case, as loud as you can, to help our crew make the correct call on this play.
And absent that solid line, we're certainly not going to rule incomplete until we've taken the time to at least look at our backside wing, in this case the CJ as well. We see the arm punch back. We're not blowing a whistle here.
Good. As we've talked about in the bulletin and in many clinics and SRI meetings, the importance, possibly the three most important pages in the goal book are pages 41, 42, and 43 that deal with rules, philosophy. And to be a contending crew, to be a contending official, that official or crew, they really need to know and apply these three pages in the goal book. So now let's take a look at this play right here, which applies to page 41 in the goal book. We've got obviously supposed to be a pass play. Look at the right tackle. Obviously circles, turns him, takes him down. You makes an excellent call on this particular play. Obviously it is holding. Let's look at it once again. We have the grasp at the line of scrimmage, maintains contact, slows his feet down, turns them, and takes them down. Obviously a foul. That's not a question on this particular play. The question is the spot of enforcement. And as you know, the high school rule, all but one, where these types of fouls, foul behind the line of scrimmage, loose ball play, or enforcement spot of the foul, we know the particular penalty enforcement, the rule there. But the important thing is indicated on page 41, is where is this foul enforced? And obviously there's an initial grasp. So the holding has started here, possible holding. So right there, as we see, as we freeze the screen, we have an encirclement and a grasp. And as this holding continues, and now we can see here where he's actually turning, restricting the defender to point of attack, we have a foul. But most importantly here, where did this hold start? Obviously it started at the line of scrimmage, so therefore we throw the flag. Most importantly, after the play is over with, and to be honest with you, I have to do a better job of this as well. We need to adjust the flag so that the flag is at the line of scrimmage. Now, one exception to this involves technique by the defender, and we'll probably see this Thursday night. Obviously in the Cowboys and Tampa Bay game, is if that defensive end, for example, comes in and uses some type of a swim technique, a legal swim technique, to disengage this contact between offense and defense. Now we have separation. At that point, if the offensive player, in this case, let's say the right tackle, now re-grabs, so to speak, that defensive end and now takes him down, obviously that spot of enforcement for that particular foul would be, where that re-engagement occurs. But again, take a good look at this. Most holding fouls that we see involving offensive line players occur or start, shall we say, at or near the line of scrimmage. So let's penalize them accordingly.
Right. Just a little follow-up. We have this initial potential hold. Had at this point the defender and the offensive player disengaged, there had been a separation, and then a re-engagement there, now we would have a penalty enforcement where the re-engagement occurred.
Right, and at the initial engagement, if you could run it back to the beginning, is, as we know, on just about every play, we have an initial, some type of grab right there, stop. And therefore, yet we do not have a hold. Obviously, from the standpoint of advantage, disadvantage, point of attack, is the takedown, is the restriction. Obviously, on page 41 in the goal book, we address all these issues in terms of, is it a foul or is it not a foul, but from that standpoint.
Right.
Good.
What we don't want to do is turn a 10-yard penalty into a 20-yard penalty.
Yeah, one coach told me one time, he said, Bruce, I don't have a lot of plays on my play card for 1st and 20 or 1st and 25.
Okay, this one falls into an area that I'm pretty passionate about, and that is our crew communication. A lot of times we have to understand we can't see everything from every angle, and it takes more than one official to call a whole bunch of plays during a football game. So we'll play this video and we'll see what happens in respect to catch or no catch by this receiver. And as we see, We've got a lot of eyes on it. The ball clearly comes out. We have an umpire coming across the field signaling incomplete pass as he comes in. But let's also give due here, our head linesman is blocked. The ball comes out on the opposite side of the body, and it's readily apparent that he has no idea that this ball has hit the ground. The receiver picks it up very quickly, and as the play goes on, you'll see the wing official has it as a catch. Here comes the umpire. I can only hope they had a discussion and they've decided to waive this off, but that's the importance of this crew communication on here. I do not understand why the back judge, who should have a perfect view of it from his back position, doesn't also run up and immediately signal incomplete pass, so we can make this a much smoother transition as opposed to the wing coming up, having a catch, trying to spot the ball, and then us having to wave the thing off. Again, crew communication, we're out there working together. Let's make sure we get calls like this correct.
Yeah, in this situation, obviously, we would hope that the back judge would see this ball loose, since it's on, his side of the player. And this one here, a couple of really hard blasts of the whistle saying, look at me, I've got something, so that he can come in, necessary, pat the ground, whatever, and indicate incomplete pass. Obviously, the H is the closest to the play. The umpire might be the second closest to play. But again, back judges on these types of plays, please come in and let the crew know what you've got. And a hard, incomplete pass cell here would be great. Could be considered a crew save here from that standpoint. So obviously in this one, there's no question, the ball is out. So we're going to obviously rule this as an incomplete pass. And as Terry indicated, if you need to take 30 seconds, a minute to talk about this play, get away from players, get away from the coaches, talk about it, and hopefully come up with the correct decision, which would be an incomplete pass.
Absolutely.
We've been seeing this too often, and it's either been in the bulletin or will be in the bulletin. I currently work on 2 bulletins simultaneously, so I apologize for that. But most importantly is we can stop it there, and we can see with the H that this ball is just barely outside the plus 10-yard line. And we know from a definition standpoint regarding goal book mechanics that we put in goal book goal line mechanics once the ball is touching the 10-yard line. That's our line of demarcation, so we know. So obviously here, with this ball being snapped slightly beyond the plus 10-yard line, we are not yet in goal line mechanics. Therefore, technically the wings don't have goal line. If they can get there, that's great. We appreciate it. But the most importantly is, let's look at the back judge here near the back of the end zone. We know when we're from the plus just outside the 10 to the 15 plus 15-yard line, the back judge needs to be halfway back in the end zone, approximately 5 yards deep in the end zone, because he has responsibility here for the goal line. If he can, unless the receivers take him deep, obviously he's going to move up to the goal line at a slight diagonal away from the runner in order to be able to possibly rule touchdown or not. If we have a situation near the pylon or near the sideline, we're going to get a thumbs up from the H in this situation, indicating thumbs up. The runner did not step out of bounds, and so therefore the the B can rule on this. So let's take a look at this play here and see what happens.
Well, my bad.
Show it again here. Got a slight glitch there. Wow, how close is that to the goal line? And Let's stop it right, Terry, let's stop it when the runner is tackled. And we'll show this again. And obviously, who has goal line on this particular play? Stop it there. Obviously, we have no one at the goal line. Obviously, the H was forced out, and of course, you know, he didn't have goal line responsibility anyway. So in this situation, what we would hope here with this back judge is he would slide a slight diagonal to avoid the players, and then have a great look down on straddling the goal line, get the thumbs up, etc., if need be, from the H, and then rule on this play. So again, I think what's really important here, if you got your radios, that's great. We can communicate via radio that the ball is outside the 10-yard line. If not, you know, we've got the back judge here needs to ask, needs to know before this play starts whether or not that ball is touching the 10-yard line. Because obviously, if the ball is touching the 10-yard line, he's going to be on the in line, you know, in goal line mechanics. So again, as we mentioned in a couple of these previous video clips, crew communication is very important so that everybody knows who has responsibility for what, because we know obviously the most important line on the football field is in fact the goal line. So be sure to communicate this as a crew, and you know, I'm sure you'll do a great job with this in the future.
Absolutely. Again, crew communication very important. Bruce, let's throw in an open the door question here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's watch the H as we get this little flare pass out here in the flat. Knowing he is not in goal line mechanics. Open the door?
Yes, yeah, as we've talked about, and we'll show on subsequent videos, anytime that runner is outside the hash mark, again, open the door. Now, if you go back to the beginning of this play and then freeze it or stop it right there at the beginning of the play, here, obviously we can see a wide receiver very close to the sideline, and yet we have an H, a wing, who is almost on the sideline. Our suggestion would be here is because of the closeness to the receiver to the sideline, obviously, is back out of bounds a couple of yards to give yourself some additional space and room so you can react accordingly based upon how this play develops.
Okay, we've got a couple of things going on here related to previous videos. First of all, let's look at our potential forward or backward pass. And I'll stop it when the ball gets to the receiver. Clearly backwards. And as soon as we get this situation, this head linesman puts himself in a tremendous amount of danger right here. We've got, well, you count them, about a dozen or more players all within a few yards of where that wing official is, coming right at him. He almost gets run over. Combine that with the fact that he sees a foul of some kind out here. So now his mind is, do I have a uniform number? Do I get the flag in the appropriate spot? A lot going through his mind. And the whole time he's standing in the way of a plethora of football players all coming right at him. This has to be very unnerving. We obviously need to open the door. Get back behind all of this trouble. And as soon as we read this pitch and that runner gets to the hash mark, that's our signal to go. We need to open the door there. That's a new addition to this year's Gold Book. And at this point, this official should already be moving backwards.
Yeah, we would hope that by moving quickly backwards as he reads this play initially, he can hopefully be able to officiate this play from what, Terry, approximately the minus 40-yard line?
Absolutely. I would think the 40 or even a couple of yards behind that, 38
right.
Perhaps. I mean, let's not get killed here, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the fact, does he get this foul standing back here? Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe even has a better look at the foul from standing back there. Now he doesn't need to worry about his own safety and all these players coming at him.
And let's look at the foul, Terry, because with all the bodies here, this is a great job by this H to pick this up. This is a tough call to get. And we can see right there, as we talked about earlier, we've got a defensive player illegally low blocking, a pulling offensive player. And this H does a great job of, one, you can see his backward pass signal, and also does a great job of picking up this low block with all these bodies. So this is a very good job of officiating by the H. Again, though, from the standpoint of our own safety, let's think about, as soon as we see, again, that horizontal movement coming toward the sideline, and obviously here it looks like, immediately stop there. We know the ball, chances are, is going to be going outside that hash mark. So again, open the door. We'd rather have you open the door a little too soon than too late, because we know the consequences potentially by opening the door too late. But again, this H did a really great job of, one, the backward pass signal, and two, picking up what is a very challenging call with a lot of bodies in that situation.
Absolutely. And there is really no downside. If he opens the door and is standing back here at the 40, 38 area, and the runner, rather than going to the sideline, cuts it up, you're still in good position.
Definitely.
You've lost nothing.
Exactly.
Ooh. And how many officials do we get hurt every year?
If we have one or more hurt, that's too many.
Absolutely. What we have in this situation is kind of a combination of things. An official who feels they need to get up to the spot way too early in the process of the play, and then when the runner goes out of bounds, their clock management skills kind of get, unprofessional.
Need to be improved.
Yes. So let's kind of watch the play, and in particular, let's watch the LJ here, and watch what he does as this play develops. Runner breaks it to the outside. He sees a potential tackle, and what's he do? He comes up to try to get the spot. The runner goes out of bounds 3, maybe 4 seconds before he comes up to the spot, and then it signals timeout. We all know that the clock stops when the runner is out of bounds, but we'll kind of take this in order. The play comes here, it comes to the outside. This official sees this potential tackle and says, okay, I have to be prepared to get the exact spot where this tackle is, when it really doesn't have to be an exact spot, even if the tackle is made there.
Terry, how could he do a better job as he sees this reaction immediate?
Well, let's go back to the opening the door video we just looked at.
Mm-hmm.
Can he see everything he needs to see from back here?
Clearly, approximately the 28 maybe?
Exactly.
Yard line, give or take?
There's no reason to get up here this early in the play. All you're doing is putting yourself in potential danger. And if we look as the play goes on, that's exactly what happens. Here comes the tackler who misses the tackle rolling on the ground. The official has to stop to keep from getting rolled over. Now he is worried about his own safety. The runner steps out of bounds right here, and the official has just now realized that he's safe and he can look up at the sideline. Runner steps out. 1, 2, 3. Now he signals timeout. Last minute of the half or the game in a very tight ball game, those 3.5, 4 seconds become very, very important. And I guess I would also point out kind of a good job here by the back judge. He realizes that the official isn't timely with his timeout signal, and he actually beats the line judge to the timeout signal.
Yes, and I think what we need to ask ourselves, basically every time the ball becomes dead by rule, let's say it's a first down beyond the line of game, we know we're going to stop the game clock. Again, did I give the timeout signal twice in a timely fashion? If it's my responsibility for the sideline as a wing official, again, when that player steps out of bounds, do I stop the clock in a timely fashion? Because again, from talking with clock operators, they get frustrated if we're not given the proper signal at the approximate time when that signal should be given. So take a look at this and think about it, and possibly make it one of your goals for coming game regarding, stop the clock. I think the other one that we see a lot too is we'll have, let's say, a 3rd and 5 situation, and the offense throws a pass, let's say, for a 12, 15, 20-yard gain. So we know immediately, obviously, if that player maintains possession and goes down, that we're going to stop the clock, because before the play is started, we're trying to memorize down and distance.
Absolutely.
So now that we know it's obviously going to be a first down, again, are we stopping the clock, when that player goes down to the ground, ball becomes dead by rule, or unfortunately we see it too often where the wings will go down to the forward progress spot and then stop the clock.
Right.
So again, just think in terms of, as a crew, are we stopping the clock in a timely fashion? As we know with Gold Book mechanics, when one official stops the clock, all officials on that crew will mirror that signal, and obviously we're signaling it not once but twice, just so everybody has a chance to be able to see those signals.
Right. And one of my common phrases in my film review is officiate the play, then get the spot.
Right.
Not the other way around.
Yeah.
And I think we have wing officials that get very caught up in getting the spot, and they forget all about officiating the play, including the time and the clock and all of those things.
Yeah, and usually when they're right on that spot, unless obviously down and distance require them to be there, is we know what they're watching. They're watching too much of the ball instead of watching the action around the ball, where, as we know in the game of football, that's where a lot of things occur that we need to be able to take care of.
Absolutely.
Bo, Terry, and I would like to thank you very much for all your help and dedication to all those football players that play this great game, along with the coaches and the fans and their parents. And we want to wish you all the best of luck, during the 2021 OHSAA football season. Just a reminder that OHSAA will be recording your attendance for this virtual online meeting, and please be patient and give them several weeks after you view this presentation for your attendance to be duly recorded on my OHSAA. Thanks, and best of luck to you.